Welcome everyone to Across the Board. It is Friday. We are happy for the weekend. It is finally here. Alpha could not be with us today, but we are expecting him to be back Monday, so I will be taking over the hosting duties for today. We have an action-packed slate, guys. We have MLB playoffs. The playoffs are heating up. We got NFL, and we even have a little bit of UFC this weekend that I will very quickly cover. We have a pretty good fight night card here, so I'm just going to hop right into the UFC. I have one pick for you guys this weekend, and it is going to be Michel Pereira in the main event. He's the underdog coming up against Anthony Hernandez. I'm going to take him as the underdog, plus 115. I love this spot for him. It's just a really good spot for his grappling against Hernandez, who's going to look for that takedown initially off the bat. And I just think he's going to be running into a brick wall against Pereira, who's a very good grappler. I love his grappling to hold up against Hernandez. I think he's going to have a really good time this weekend on the ground against him. So tomorrow night, that's my favorite pick in the main event. That's my free play for you guys. And that's going to be all we got for UFC this week for at least the free pick. Hop over in the MoneyBall Metrics Discord, though, because I will be posting a full UFC card for this weekend. So make sure you guys get over in that Discord and get on that. But without further ado, we have lots of football to talk about this weekend. And we have, of course, JD up there in the top right and Jammer down low. We are going to break down a lot of games for you guys. So let's just hop right into them. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good, man. This morning has been a little bit crazy. But after saying that, I believe the best bets yesterday, I actually believe we sweeped. So yeah, man, we have an actual great slate today. So let's do it.
We do. We have some good baseball games. Jammer, how you doing?
Man, it's Friday. Can't complain. Hit a couple plus money plays yesterday. Gave out some plus 300s on the show. Can't complain,
some
man.
Base stealers, right?
Oh yeah, big base stealer.
Both of them. We love that. We'll see if you have any more today. We'll be covering baseball last day, but without further ado, like I said, we'll be hopping right into football here. We start with a divisional battle. The Lions and Vikings are going to be playing as probably the front runners in the NFC North this year in a pretty good division, but the Vikings are slightly favored by 1.5 points here at home on Sunday. They are one of the final two undefeated teams in the NFL. JD, what do you like in this game?
And the Lions are coming off a game where they had like the best game, that they could have ever played. So, when you look at it like that, this could seem actually like a letdown spot. I don't really see it quite actually like that though. Well, just to start with, as far as the model goes, the Lions, it absolutely loves them. It actually has them favored here by actually 2.5 points. That's shocking to me. That's not quite how I see this game going. But throughout this whole season so far, the model as far as the Lions, it's been really high on actually them. And on the Vikings, it's been a little low. And actually, as y'all know, the Vikings, I've been backing them almost every week in actually some type of way here. And for me, with the Vikings actually coming off an actual bye week, the Vikings offense should do very well. To me, the Vikings are going to put up points. So the real question for me came down to is the Vikings defense going to be able to get stops? And while, of course, I think they're going to be able to get some, I think the Lions are still going to be able to actually score points here. So for me, this game really sets up as just points and points. Got the over here, got the total set at 50.5. Absolutely loved the actual over here. The model's not showing a ton of value. I have it at 51.2. But to me, as far as just how the game sets up, this actually definitely definitely looks like an over game.
Yeah, I agree. Jammer, what do you think?
So this game, man, it gives me the feel of this Chiefs 49ers, but a whole different, they don't have the history behind their teams, but just in terms of picking a side here, because I really, really, really just want to pick one side in each of these games and just absolutely fade the shit out of the other team. The Vikings I'm talking about in this situation, they're 5-0. You spoke on that, but they're also 5-0 against the spread. But the thing for the Lions is that they're missing their star edge rusher, Aiden Hutchinson, and this gives me the same vibes as my Steelers do without TJ Watt. The Steelers are 1-10 without TJ Watt. Aiden Hutchinson has not missed a game in his career, so we don't know what this Lions defense looks like without him out there rushing the quarterback. So, I'm fully behind what JD's saying. I'm thinking we're going to see points in this game. And I think that the one thing that I can back in this game of uncertainty is a David Montgomery anytime touchdown. It's super juiced on a lot of books, but right now you can get it on FanDuel at -130. This has basically been automatic for David Montgomery this year. He's hit it in 8 straight regular season games. He was a scoring machine in the playoffs as well last year. He scored 2 touchdowns versus the Vikings last season. I think we see it again this week. Just back in JD's play there too with the points. Let's see David Montgomery get it early. He's been getting a lot of those goal line carries. Just keep feeding him. He's just going to keep scoring.
Yeah. So we got points and we got an anytime touchdown. I'll give you guys a side here. I don't think this is going to surprise many people. You can see in the background. I'm taking the Vikings here. I am. And you know why I am? It's because of the line. If they were like -3.5, -4, -5, I would get it. But this is a team that it's not like they haven't been tested yet this year. I really don't feel like a homer with this pick because I haven't played them that many times this year. I played them against Green Bay in a divisional game because I thought it was a good matchup, and then I played them against San Francisco. This is only the 3rd time I'm playing them this year, but it really comes down to the fact that this defense has held up. Yes, Detroit is probably the most explosive offense they're going to face so far, but they faced good offenses. Now they faced the Niners. I understand there's no Christian McCaffrey, things like that, but there's still a really good offense. They held them to 17 points. They faced the Texans, 7 points allowed. And then they faced Green Bay. And the final score says 31-29, but that Green Bay game was not close for a lot of the game. The only reason it ended with that 2-point difference was, if you remember at the end, it was a big 4th quarter kind of just play prevent D, and they were just trying to kind of run out the clock. And the Green Bay scored a few times. It wasn't actually that close of a game as the final score indicated. So this defense has continued to hold up for me, and that I've seen them tested enough this year that I'm comfortable in this spot with a line this low. And the only reason I'm taking it is because it's this low. If it was even more than a field goal, because this could be a field goal game, but that'll be enough here. I wouldn't be comfortable if the line was higher, but Jammer brought it up quickly with that Aiden Hutchinson thing. Not only does he lead the NFL with 7.5 sacks, I saw a stat that I didn't find myself, but I heard it and I saw it. He accounted for 48% of all the pass pressures that the Lions have created. Nearly half of every pressure they brought was either assisted or created by Aiden Hutchinson.
That's wild.
And the fact that now that that's missing, the big drawback of this defense was already their secondary. And a lot of that was accounted for and made up for by the fact that Aiden Hutchinson could bring so much pressure and force quarterbacks to get the ball out quickly or scramble and not be able to make those deep throws. What's that defense going to look like now that their secondary has already struggled and they might not be able to bring as much pressure? So I think just kind of the combination of that, the first game without him, maybe someone will step up, but I don't know if it'll be this week. So I'm going to take my Vikings. I'm going to be a homer. Sorry to do it, guys. It's not a super confident play for me.
Not mad about it.
I like in this game. So there you go. We got a lot of points. Hopefully the Vikings win like 40 to 45 to 16 so that JD gets it over. And one of those 2 touchdowns that the Lions score is David Montgomery. But that's our picks for the first game. Moving on, we got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Houston Texans. Green Bay 4-2, Houston 5-1. Still making the offense look good without Nico Collins. They're coming off a blowout last week. Granted, it was against Drake May and the Patriots, but still a great win for them. They now won 3 in a row. We'll go with Jammer first. What do you like in this game?
So this is another exciting matchup here. We got Jordan Love and CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was my preseason MVP pick. He's been looking pretty good this season. This is a game that I believe that the Texans will really miss Nico Collins. The Packers ranked in the top 10 in the league in EPA per play on both sides of the ball, and they've just been looking stronger each week. Texans, on the other hand, they're just 16th in offensive EPA per play, and you got to assume that number is going to go down, missing their star receiver, Nico Collins, and traveling on the road to go play in Green Bay. They don't get a lot of those outdoor games. Houston's also 28th in red zone defense and really haven't faced the best set of quarterbacks this season. You know, they had AR-15 Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, the best quarterback they faced, and then last week Drake May. As much as I love CJ Stroud, man, like he's probably my second or third. I'm gonna have to go third favorite quarterback in the league now because I got 2 on my Steelers I got to root for. He just hasn't played well on the road. He did well in college on the road. I think he posted like an 8-1 record, but in the NFL he's 5-5, and the only impressive win that he's had on the road was last season in a shootout versus Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So it's tough to back this team on the road here. I think I'm going to have to back the Packers at home if you can get them at 2.5. Get that hook there. But other than that, I think maybe you'll see points in the game, but I think that we're going to see a strong performance by the Green Bay defense and maybe expose the Texans without Nico Collins this week. I know they look good on the rushing the ball and passing last week, but this Green Bay defense is a whole different beast.
Yeah, I agree. JD, what do you like in this one?
Jammer just actually said it there, and actually he said points. And actually, once again, this is a game where I see points.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Packers, as far as their defense goes, I'm maybe actually by myself here, but they are an actual overrated bunch. I actually really do think so. I talked about that when they played. I believe it was the Vikings. I played the Vikings actually team total there, and they soared over that. Against certain teams, they're just going to give up points to. And actually, this Texans team, it is actually going to be one of those teams. Then while saying that, though, the Packers offense, I'm actually very high on actually them. So this was a game where the Texans side, I was definitely leaning there. I'm showing a little bit of value there. But as far as the over, I'm actually really liking that. On the model here, I have it at 50.7. So I have a 3-point gap there. So for me, this was definitely another easy actually overplay.
Yeah, I agree. And I do agree because it lines up with my pick that I like. I was glad Jammer brought up one of the points I was going to make with kind of that Houston strength of schedule. I don't know how much we've really seen this team tested yet. It's not that they haven't looked good. They have. And the offense has looked good. And even without Nico Collins, I think some guys have stepped up, including Diggs, who obviously everyone thought would step up this year as one of the biggest offseason trades. And they've won 3 in a row. But that Buffalo win, I think, is, it was a close game. It was back and forth. I thought they played decent. It's a good win to beat Buffalo. But other than that, they just haven't looked that impressive, even in their other wins. Like you brought up the quarterbacks they played. They played Caleb Williams in his second start when they were still kind of struggling getting out of the gate. Now they look better. But out of the gates this season, they weren't looking as good. AR-15 in week 1, who now it looks like that offense might be better with Joe Flacco. There's just a lot of things I think that are kind of have gone right for them so far. Not to say that they haven't played well, but how much have they truly been tested? And like you said, this Green Bay team, I think, is really sneaky. I don't know how many people are actually talking about Green Bay as serious contenders, and they could be just from how balanced they are everywhere. On the front line in the defense, even in the secondary, on offense, they have 2 quarterbacks that were playing so well they didn't even know if they should start, kind of like a Pittsburgh situation, because Malik Willis looked good. Jordan Love's looked good. Now, the one issue for me in this game for the Packers and what's making me stay off of them is those injuries to their receiving core, because you see that Jaden Reed and Christian Watson both were limited in practice this week. They've been practicing some, but they've both been limited. Tucker Kraft, even their tight end that they'd like to go to, he's even limited in practice, and they have an injured offensive line. So that's kind of the one thing holding me back from really laying down the hammer on Green Bay in this spot. However, with that being said, I do like Romeo Doubs, the player prop, to go over 41.5 receiving yards. It's something he's done already in 2 games this season. And in 3 games this season. 3 of his 5 games, he's passed this line. And it should have kind of been 4. He had 8 targets 2 games ago in Minnesota, or against Minnesota, and he had 39 yards. So he fell 3 yards short, but he had 8 targets. And it was kind of some bad luck. He just had a few balls that, weren't perfectly placed. It was good defense. But he should have probably passed that line in this game or in that game too. So I really like Romeo Doubs to go over 41.5 yards. I think he's going to kind of be their healthiest, honestly, just their healthiest weapon, but also he can be explosive at times. So that's my favorite play in this one. I do lean the Packers. It's just with all those injuries, I'm not too sure. But
yeah, you definitely got to pay attention to that injury report.
Yeah. It's just tough to know what you're going to expect, especially those offensive line injuries. Those can be really underrated when you have guys on the line that just like Jordan Love is mobile, so I'm not super worried about that, to be honest with you. And he can really move around the pocket, but still just makes me a little bit wary. Did want to get to a few comments. Thanks, Bill, for hopping in today. Bill, Nick, and Joe, all our normal regulars. Thank you guys for coming. We see you guys down there in the comments. See Alpha in the comments. No problem. Hold down your spot. Yeah, thanks for commenting, guys. Let us know if you guys have any questions on anything. We'll try and cover those as well. But with that, we will move right along to probably the game of the week. It's a Super Bowl rematch between one of the last two undefeated teams. And, you know, this one has a little bit of its spice taken out because McCaffrey's still out. Debo's still we're just missing some pieces in this game. But even with that, it should still be a good one. The Chiefs are on the road in San Francisco. What do you guys like in this one? We'll start with JD.
You know, the Chiefs are actually coming off a bye week. You're actually going to hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is an easy Chiefs play, right? I mean, like, Chiefs off bye, they win like 99. You know, they actually win like almost all the time here. You know, that's a trend that I don't really go with. I like to base my like plays off of numbers off of players that are actually on the field now, not off of, you know, past years and years and years ago. You know, for me, there's not a whole lot of X's and there's not a lot of X's and actually O's here. Simply put, I have the Niners as actually the higher power rated team. So given that fact, and then having them at home, I actually make them as a favorite here of actually 3 points. So I mean, there's not a huge edge here, but as far as the actual Niners, I have to play them here. I've been waiting to play against the actual Chiefs. We saw those actually first few weeks there. They we know they really should have lost at least 2 of those games. And I've just been waiting for actually this spot and actually, yeah. So I have to roll with the Niners here. You can get a money line. It looks like around -125.
Yeah. This is a tough one for me because a lot of people are talking about Super Bowl revenge, all that kind of thing. We got to remember that Christian McCaffrey was playing in that game. So is Ayuk. You just have a lot of different factors coming into this game. And, you know, granted, Kansas City, to your point, hasn't looked great. Their receiving core has left some to be loved. Travis Kelce doesn't look the same. They still have a great defense, and they still have Mahomes, who's made it look kind of easy back there going 5-0, even though they have had some favorable calls. But even in that early game in the season against the Ravens, probably could have gone to overtime if his toe is 1 centimeter shorter. There's just a lot of things that have gone right for them so far this year. But I think too many people are kind of just, I don't know. I don't read into the whole Super Bowl revenge thing. I think you still got to think about the better team. These guys might be in the Super Bowl again this year. And right now, I just think that with all the injuries to San Francisco, the Chiefs are still the better team, to be honest with you. Because Jordan Mason, who, by the way, has filled in excellently for Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
If you're going to have him go out and you had one guy step up and the numbers that Mason's put up, it should be Mason. Like, he's had multiple 100-yard rushing games. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry this season. The issue is that he's a shoulder injury and he's been limited in practice all week. So we don't know if we're going to see a fully healthy Jordan Mason. And then behind him, it's just a complete, who again? Isaac Guerrero is the backup. Patrick Taylor. Like, you just have guys that it's like, are they going to be able to continue to step up? And Debo's banged up still. I just don't know. This one is back and forth for me, so I'm not super confident with it or in the total, but I am going to go with the Chiefs here, +1.5. I just think if you're going to give me, I'll take Chiefs money line actually, because I was going to say, if you're going to give me even money or plus money on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they've been so good as underdogs. You look back in his career, every time it seems like they're underdogs, he's winning. So I'm going to just, stick with what I think, at least when healthy, I think it's a lot more even and the Niners would win. But in the current state, I just think the Chiefs are better. What do you think, Jammer?
So, you guys both make great points. I mentioned it earlier. I want to fade the ever-living shit out of the Chiefs, but I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And there's 3 reasons why. 1, you guys mentioned it, Chiefs are healthier. 2, you got to admit they have the better coach and quarterback combo. And, JD brought it up as my 3rd one. It's Andy Reid off the bye. I got to trust him that he's going to have his team dialed in, ready for this game. I know it's on the road, and that's a huge advantage for the 49ers. But for the other 2 reasons, I think that those just trump what's going on here in San Fran. If they had their fully healthy team, Christian McCaffrey, Debo's fully healthy, Fred Warner's not on the injury report, I'm probably going to take this 49ers team at home. But I just can't do it here. I'm going to attack a different portion of the game, though. Instead of attacking the side or a total, I'm looking at the tight end matchup. So this season, Kansas City's allowed the most targets, receptions, and yards to tight ends this season. And although the numbers don't really back Kelsey here versus the Niners really haven't faced any elite talent at the position. In the last 2 weeks, Kelsey's had 19 targets and 16 receptions for 159 yards. Not to mention the Super Bowl game where he had 9 catches for 93 yards. So I'm going to back both of these 2 to get 50-plus yards in a parlay, coming out to plus 155. So Kelsey and Kittle, 50-plus receiving yards each, plus 155. And then I'm going to put some shekels on each of them to score a touchdown. Each of them's about 155 plus 165. So back in the tight end matchup here. I don't know if we'll see points or if we'll see a low scoring one, but I do think that we will see at least one of these guys score at the tight end spot.
I actually love that parlay because that just brought back memories from that Super Bowl where it really was kind of the tight end show. And to that point, I remember when I was first time about this game, I said Kelsey was struggling. But yeah, to your point, he actually has started to look more like
last
Kelsey.
2 games. It's been dominant.
Yeah, so I actually really like that parlay, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll end up tailing that. But that will conclude that game. And over to our final NFL game with our resident jammer there in the bottom. His Jets are taking on the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Jets could be having a better season so far, but they get Devontae Adams. So that could throw a little bit of spice into this matchup on top of what I'm sure Jammer will lovingly tell us his thoughts on the quarterback change in Pittsburgh. So actually, We'll start off with you, Jammer. What do you think of this game? Because I know you've got some words.
I've been ready to talk about this, and I'm wearing this jersey for a reason today. Do you guys remember who number 8 was for the Steelers? We had to deal with this man, the Kenny Pickett.
I was just going to say Kenny Pickett, right? Yeah.
So the thing that really blows my mind is that, Justin Fields, 4-2 record to start off the season. Guess who else had a 4-2 record last year? Kenny Pickett. But we decide to make a quarterback change after how well Justin Fields has played. The more that I look into it, it's like you got the conversation about the draft pick. If Justin Fields plays more than 50% of the snaps this year, the trade upgrades from a 6th-round pick to a 4th-round pick. I really don't think that comes into play. Maybe it does. I don't know how petty the ownership management group is. I don't think that really had much to do with it. Whenever I initially heard the news that they were doing it, of course I'm a little mad. I'm thinking like, how was this decision not made last year based off the quarterback play? Because if you look at the Fields versus Pickett, Fields has just been outplaying them by a country mile. But the more that I look into it, I think that maybe there is a good reason to make this switch. I think Bill Belichick said it best. You make a change when you're sure that player is going to upgrade your team. If you're not sure, you probably stay with where you're at. And Fields even admitted, I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago, he said he hasn't been playing his best. And I think what led to this move is the decision-making that Fields makes whenever he's on the field. Sure, he has that freak athleticism and the great ability to leave the pocket, but the offense needs someone who can lead before, during, and after the snap. So I think with our young, inexperienced O-line, we've had some injuries on there. We got some rookies, some second-year players, as well as our wide receivers. I think Russ is more equipped to make audibles and adjustments, run more of the plays in the playbook, and make the right read/throw when we need it in the game instead of just kind of relying on relying on your legs to make a play. There were a lot of open receivers that Justin Fields missed last week. And, we look at his lack of turnovers and the wins that he's had. He's very close to being 6-0 on the season. If a couple things went his way, at fourth down and for the Cowboys. But I think that this is a good move for the Steelers. They got a 2-week trial period before the bye week. You got some time to decide if this little Russ experiment is going to work or not. It's tough to back them this week. I see Nick in the chat, Steelers by 1 million. It's like the Lions. You got to see how they are whenever they have a big change like this. It's tough to back the Steelers here at home, but I think that the move might end up allowing the Steelers to play more of their playbook, allow George Pickens and other receivers to kind of get involved in there. But I got to see it first. I think it's a good move. We'll see how it goes. I kind of wish that they would have made a move earlier, like they did. Wish they would have made a move earlier last year instead of doing it this year. It's got people talking. I think that's a good thing for the Steelers, but I just got to see it. I got to see it first.
Yeah, I'm just absolutely. I can respect you coming around the Russell Wilson move. It's just he's coming off his career worst year, and he is. No one was really giving him any benefit of the doubt in Denver, which could have been coaching, could have come down to that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, he just didn't look like prime Russ when he won the Super Bowl. Should have won 2 there, but when he was winning that Super Bowl, maybe 2. And he just didn't look the same the last 2 years. And I think if we saw him in a few games this year before he got injured or something and he looked good, I would get this switch a little bit more. But we haven't gotten proof that Russ still has that in him. And he probably does, but we just haven't seen it yet. I think there's too many uncertainties. And granted, we aren't in the Steelers facility. We don't see what they see in practice every day. Maybe he looks.
We just get clips. That's it.
Yeah, we're not there every day. He might look awesome, but I do think one aspect of this that will come into play almost indefinitely is the fact that Russell Wilson's 35. He's been somewhat mobile in his career. He's been good on the feet, but he's 35. He's not as mobile as Justin Fields. And you have a Steelers offensive line that can give up pressure. So I think that's going to be the biggest aspect of this is what is Russell Wilson going to do in the pocket when that pressure comes? Because Justin Fields, we've already seen it. He's been killing it on the ground. He's been absolutely killing it on the ground, and he's been limiting turnovers. So the fact that he's gone how far into the season now? 6 games with 1 pick, and he has 231 rushing yards in those 6 games. I don't think you're going to see those similar stats from Russell Wilson, even if he does make the better throws, and he might. But they're also facing a very, very good Jets secondary in this game. I think this is actually the worst game in the league for him to come back in because the Jets have arguably the best secondary in the league. I thought the same thing. Worst stylistic matchup for this team to make the switch at this point to me. Just giving off the Jets defense and switching over to the Jets side. You bring in Devontae Adams. All of a sudden, you have Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard. What more could Aaron Rodgers possibly ask for at this point? He is completely run out of excuses. Your head coach is gone. Your play caller is gone. And now you have literally the receiving core that you would go to sleep and dream of. So he's out of excuses. Breece Hall is coming off an excellent game. It seems like he may be back. Yeah, it was only 1 game. But the fact that they lost last week, I think, is really kind of affecting the market in this spot because if you told me last week that Aaron Rodgers would throw for 294 yards, and Breece Hall would rush for 113 yards, and the Jets would still lose that game, I would be absolutely in shock. But they did, and of course it was because of Mike Williams, and I'm sure that only sped up the negotiations for Devontae Adams because
100%.
If he turns around and doesn't slip, Jets either tie and win that game or probably win it right there. And this would be a much more different conversation. But I just have to go with the Jets in this spot. I really do think I don't care that Devontae Adams didn't practice all week. I think that connection is going to be there. This secondary, I think this defense is tailor-made for Russell Wilson and that Steelers offense. And this is probably my favorite spot of the week, to be honest with you. I think that the Steelers are making a mistake, especially to switch to him this week against this defense. And who knows? Maybe we'll see Justin Fields back on the field soon.
I think we can see both of them play in the game.
Maybe like a Taysom Hill, New Orleans Saints kind of thing. I think you might be right. Like putting Fields down in the red zone or something. Like I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. What do you think, JD?
I thought that Jammer was going to say this, but he did not. It was actually Ben that actually said it. This is the worst week to make this change. It is absolutely the worst week. Just like Ben said, the Steelers actually like offensive line. They have not been playing well. This Jets defense is going to get after him. And you're going to wish you had Fields there to be able to
He's
move.
still there. He didn't leave.
Yeah.
Well,
He's still there.
So like from actually that side of things, I really do think this is a bad week. It just really seems like it really just actually seems like an actual bad week. But then on the other side here with the Jets have actually made the trade, so their offense is actually looking great, right? Well, no, because their offensive line still sucks. They can't run the damn ball. They just can't. And when they can't run the ball, that passing offense is just not going to look the same. There has to be an actual balance there. And that's what the Jets need. And until they have a balance there, I'm not going to be able to back them. I'm not going to I just don't think that they're going to look good still. So for me, just simply, this is a stay away game. I don't want anything from either
you got to
side.
say the line since he's not here.
What is if there's no?
Sometimes the best play in the game is
sometimes
no
the best
play.
play is no play at all. This is one that you want to watch. This is a game that I will not have a play on, but I will definitely be tuned in because I'm ready to just kind of see how actually both sides, just how everything plays out here. So
I do want to say that you guys say it's the worst game. I did mention that. It's just that we have 2 games until the bye week. So I think that this gives Russ that 2-game trial period. You get that extra week to decide, hey, let's look at 6 games of Fields versus this 2 games of a healthy Russ.
Now, counterpoint. That almost could honestly be a bad time because you have all this momentum right now. Now, technically, take that with a grain of salt because they're 4-2, which is still good. But you have momentum in the fact that you're 4-2. You're in the race for the division right now. I know it's still early, but you have 2 games until the bye. If you lose these 2 somehow and Russ looks horrible, you're going to be 4-4 going into the bye with back-to-back losses. That almost killed all the momentum you just created. So would you rather not stick with Fields until the bye, see how that goes? And then if you look bad, you have more time to prepare Russ for his start coming out of the bye. It's almost like a double-edged sword. There's 2 ways to look at it.
That brings me back to the pettiness of the ownership group. Is this about the 50% of snaps? I don't know. Do they really want to keep that 6th round pick? Do they not want to give up the 4th? I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I do think that'll be a good game. I think the Jets win it, but it should be a fun game at least. I'm excited to see Devontae Adams in New York. And hopefully Jammer should be excited to see Russell Wilson. Hopefully he looks good. Well, not for the sake of my Jets pick, but for the sake of Jammer's mental health. But with that, we conclude NFL and we move into baseball. We had some very good. We had honestly probably the best playoff game of the year so far yesterday.
100%.
In Cleveland with the rookie John Noel hitting that absolute moonshot, and then David Fry, right, in extras, who hits another moonshot 400 feet. The place is going crazy. That was probably my favorite playoff game so far of the year. And the good news is we got 2 more tonight, and the Dodgers have a chance to close it out. The Guardians have a chance to tie it up. We're going to start over in New York, where the Mets are taking on the Dodgers. JD, what do you think in this game?
I've as far as the over here, and I've just been playing overs, and they just keep on hitting. In this game, I try not to overthink it, but I'm not just going to play the over again here. This Dodgers team, they are hot. The bats are hot. They are hitting the ball. They're actually scoring runs. A couple of actually overs that we've bet. We've been sweating for the Dodgers to cover the over, actually just
single-handedly,
So tonight, I'm just not going to overthink it, and I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to go with the Dodgers team total over. You can get it at 3.5 currently. The model has them at actually 4.25 runs. So as long as with everything that I've seen, it matches up with it, and actually like that's what the numbers say. So I just have to simply roll with actually that.
Yeah. I've tried to be sharp with the Mets one too many times in this series, and it has bitten me in the butt. I truly think that losing, going on that kind of scoreless run where they were shut out in 2 games in the first 3. Granted, they scored a lot in game 2, but I think getting shut out twice in the first 3 games, I think it really just killed all their kind of magic and momentum that they had going, because they had an excellent end of the season. It was, the vibes were good in New York. They go on the road, they beat the Brewers. They beat Philly in dominant fashion. They come into this series, even tied 1-1. I really think it was game 3, getting shut out twice in 3 games. I think that was a turning point where their momentum kind of just fell off a cliff, because I think the dread kind of set in that, yes, the Dodgers have Ohtani, who's now heating up, and Betts and Ohtani, both coming into the postseason, actually weren't doing that great. Like Ohtani, except for when runners were on base, he wasn't batting that good. I think it was like 200, which for him isn't good. It's still decent for the postseason.
High expectations,
Betts coming into the postseason was on an 0-22 at-bat run in the postseason, and now he's starting to kind of find his groove, and that just makes it even scarier. Like maybe with those 2 bats cold, the Mets would have had a shot, but now the fact that you're turning to David Peterson in game 3, who's been in more of a kind of a bullpen role, but the first time we saw him against this Dodgers team, he gave up 2 earned runs in 2.1 innings, and they lost the game 0-9. And unfortunately, he's a lefty, and the Dodgers have been crushing lefties. And in fact, they had the best record this season against left-handed starters. And I know it's kind of more of an opening role, not necessarily starting, because we'll only probably see him for a few innings. But still, the fact remains the Dodgers were 36-17 against left-handed starter pitchers this year. And those 36 wins led all of baseball. So they've just absolutely crushed lefties. They should probably get out to another early lead here. Nothing that we've seen in this series should make us believe that this Dodgers offense is going to slow down, and the bullpen honestly hasn't been doing that good for the Mets either. Meanwhile, the Dodgers have had like one of the best bullpens so far, now that the Guardians and the Yankees closers are deciding to just give up runs like they're free. So yeah, everything I just have to go kind of square here. I think the Dodgers close it out today at -130. I love that this line isn't too high, because A, it might be a trap, but B, you're not laying a ton of juice for them to lose necessarily. But yeah, give me the Dodgers. What do you think, Jamer?
So you guys make great points. You got to see the Dodgers with the 3-1 lead in the series. They got at least 2 home games sitting in their back pocket. How much magic do the Mets have left in that Big Apple out there? I mean, we saw some crazy plays by them late in games so far in these playoffs, but I don't know. There's no metric that I can read off to you guys that instills any sort of confidence. The Dodgers might not have Freddie Freeman and Gavin Lux tonight. They got Flaherty on the bump. He pitched game 1, 7 scoreless innings for them. I mean, usually it doesn't work like that the second time around whenever you see the same team. The only way that I can see the Mets winning this game is if the Dodgers take their gas or take their foot off the pedal. It's tough to back them. I really love JD's play of the over 3.5 team total for the Dodgers, just because those bats have just been so hot against both starting pitchers and the bullpen. They've just been lighting up both of those groups for the Mets. I might have to tell you here, JD, on that team total, because I didn't have a play on this. If I was going to lean away, I would probably give the Dodgers -1.5. I don't want to lay that juice on the money line just in case they do take their foot off the gas. But I think they're going to put up some runs. You're going to get some bombs by Shohei and Mookie, and they're going to put up runs. It's just a matter if that Mets magic runs out or not. I like the team total over 3.5. Tailing you there, JD.
Let's go.
All right, so we want to see some runs in that game, and the Dodgers to win. So maybe the Dodgers can just win 10-0 tonight and close it out. But our second game, oh boy, this could be a big momentum shifter. All of a sudden, the Guardians were in control of that game until they weren't. All of a sudden, Judge and Stanton go back-to-back. But then the Guardians pull it back, win in extras. That was a huge momentum shift. You would have had the Yankees with 4 closeout games to now all of a sudden we could be tied tonight. Like that, it really was a huge momentum shifter. I know Alpha's just hating me in the comments. But it really was a massive turning point in that series for what you consider could be tied going back to New York. And so tonight really has a lot of momentum in this series on the line. And you have Luis Heel on the mound on one side and Gavin Williams on the mound on the other side, neither of which we have yet to see in the postseason. So it really is an interesting spot. It could be the biggest game of the series, and we haven't seen either of these guys in the postseason yet. So I just think it's one of those spots. I'll actually start in this one because I'm going with a prop. That kind of led me into it. The best play in this play is no game, at least on the side, because I don't think you know exactly what we're going to see from either of these starters.
No.
The teams, have last night's game makes me absolutely in the dark today. Honestly, if the Guardians lost last night, I would have liked the Yankees to win again today. But now I'm just like, man, maybe they found some momentum in their bats from that win. It's going to really pump up that dugout and everything. There's going to be a lot more energy. Because if they would have lost yesterday, I think you would have had a lot more. Blowing that lead and then losing, the dugout would have been a lot different last night than it'll feel tonight. I can tell you.
They looked defeated after that Giancarlo home run.
Yeah, they would have felt defeated. The crowd would have been kind of like, oh, here we go. Now it's completely the opposite. The crowd's going to be going crazy. The bullpen, the dugout's going to feel different. That can honestly, really influence a team. So
100%.
I just don't know what to expect of the side. However, I am going to bet on a Cleveland bat for that exact reason. I'm going to take Jose Ramirez to go over 1.5 bases. And the best line you can get right now is plus 130. I think that's an excellent line to get on him. He was pretty cold in the postseason, to be honest with you. But I like this matchup because he will be going up against Luis Heel, who was worse against Luis Heel was worse against lefty batters this year. And Jose Ramirez will be on the left side. He's a switch hitter. And lefties have been hitting 210 off Heel versus righties have only been hitting 170 this season. And half of the hits that Heel has given up against left-handed batters this year have been extra base hits. So I do like Jose Ramirez to kind of get his bat going because he's had back-to-back decent games now after really struggling to start the year. He's an extra base hit in his last 2 games against the Yankees. So I think he can get another one tonight, maybe pimp another home run or something like Noel or Fry. But that's my favorite play because you're getting a pretty good price on it at plus 130. What do you think, Jammer?
Man, we had some fun in this game last night. I cashed the 2 stolen base props. Also gave out the Guards team total over 3.5.
Yeah, you killed it.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely be paying attention to those lineups today. If we can get Trevino back there behind the plate again, I don't think we will. But those stolen base props were fun to watch. And then obviously at the end of the game, we hate to see Alpha's Yankees lose, but man, that was a fun one to watch. Bringing in John Kenzie Noel for that home run, absolutely crushed it. That was a fun one to watch. And this one tonight, man, it's going to be an interesting one. You mentioned it already, 2 pitchers who haven't been on the mound in almost a month. Gavin Williams, he had a 5.5 ERA in the month of August. Last time Heel pitched was against my Pirates, allowing 6 runs and 4 homers in just 5 2/3 innings pitched. I think we're going to see some more runs tonight. I mean, just looking at those stats for these guys who haven't pitched in a long time, both bullpens have been kind of trounced in the last couple games.
Yeah.
Guardians have been playing well. Best home team in the AL during the regular season. I think they're 3-1 this postseason at home. I would love to see some more Guardians magic. I don't want to piss off Alpha by taking the Guards. I'm just going to back the over 7.5 here. Let's see some runs.
I love it. What do you think, JD?
No, Jammer, you just said all of that great, man. The actual over here, we're getting it at an actual 7.5. I was kind of shocked to actually see that. Both of these starters, like actually both of y'all said, this is their first start, and I don't trust either guy.
No.
I think there's a good shot. Yeah, I think there's a good shot or a good chance that both of these guys get actually hit up. Also think from off of last night's game, it was such a crazy game, and I feel like the bats on both sides are going to kind of actually like they're actually like awake now. The model, it has this at 8.6 runs. So me being a full run off there, this was a very easy play. I would think that this number would actually move up. The closer that we get to game time, I would definitely expect to actually see 8s here. So if you do like that, I actually would go ahead and lock that in.
Love it. So we got 2 overs. Well, that concludes our picks. However, we are going to get the best bets. But first, JD is going to tell you guys about a promo going on right now in the Moneyball Metrics Discord.
Yeah, guys. We have a special promo currently now, and it is the basketball promo. You can get all of our actually NBA, all of our actual college ball, and this is from everybody. This is from KO Locks. This is from me. We know that we're gonna have we're actually gonna have Jammer some also, but you can get the whole season for actually both sports for only actually $89. For me, if you ask me, that just sounds like just a crazy deal. So if you would like that, you can send us an actual DM, and we can get you that link.
All right, perfect. Yeah, that does sound like a good deal. You're getting the whole winner of picks, only $89. But that leads us right into everyone's favorite time of the day, as Alpha says. It is the best bets. We got a nice little new video for you guys there. We'll have JD lead us off. What are your best bets tonight, or this weekend, I should say?
Let's start off with tonight. Let's go back to that Dodgers and Mets game. The Dodgers, I actually really like them tonight, but give me their team total over. You can get that at 3.5 at actually minus 145 currently. And then for Sunday, what's my favorite plays here? Probably both of those overs. Yeah, let's go to the Lions and Vikings game. Let's play the over 50.5 at actually minus 110. Then let's go to the Texans and Packers game. I like the over 47.5 at minus 110. And as far as the side, the Texans, I definitely lean them, but I'm actually not quite there yet. But
I love it. You seem to crush those totals in the NFL. I feel like I should tail those more than I do, but we'll be rooting for those overs. Jammer, what do you have for this weekend?
So I'm definitely going to be paying attention to those lineups today. If I see Trevino in there behind the plate for the Yanks, I would definitely be scoping out some of those stolen base props. But sticking to baseball, I do like that over in the Yankees Guardians. Tough to trust either of those pitchers. Bullpens have been getting lit up. Give me that over 7.5 in that game. And now we'll be jumping to the NFL. Spoke on it earlier. If it's not broke, don't fix it. David Montgomery, anytime touchdown. I know the Vikings defense has been solid this year, but this guy has just been getting it in across the line. 8 straight games in the regular season. Both games last year versus the Vikings. I like him at minus 130. I don't like him at minus 155, minus 160 that some of the other books are offering. FanDuel's got him at minus 130. Maybe they know something we don't, but I like it at that number. Shout out Joe. I saw him in the chat earlier. He was talking about Rodgers INT at plus money. He kind of convinced me. I was looking into it while you guys were talking. In his career, Aaron Rodgers has the lowest percentage of passes that end up in an INT, but the last 2 weeks, he's had 4 interceptions. He had 3 versus Ben's Vikings, and then he had 1 last week versus the Bills. I think we could maybe see some tunnel vision this week for Aaron Rodgers with his new boy coming back in town. He might get a little lonely out there on Joey Porter Jr. Island. Prediction, it's either going to be Minka or Joey Porter Jr. picking that off. I like Rodgers INT at plus money. Shout out Joe. And then my last play is just that tight end parlay in the Chiefs 49ers game. Kelsey and Kittle, 50-plus receiving yards each, plus 155.
Yeah, I love that. And guys, seriously, be on the lookout for Jammer's stolen base props because you make a really good point with Trevino. Like last night when they were stealing on him, he started getting really frustrated. I don't know if they will start him again because he was looking frustrated after a few of those steals. And especially, I can't remember, was it Quan or I can't, someone stole third on him, and that's when he really
that was Jimenez.
Oh yeah, Jimenez stole third, and then he really they panned him, and he really looked pissed. And then they did it again. Like they were stealing third base on him, which you don't see that often, especially in postseason. So if it is him behind the plate again, like I would definitely look into some of those props, as Jammer says. And he crushed him yesterday. He hit both. So
Mhm.
look out for those. But my favorite plays, I got 4 for you guys, and I'm going to be hopping all over the place here. Starting in UFC, we already covered this one, but if you guys weren't here at the beginning, Michel Pereira, he's the main event tomorrow night. I love him in this underdog spot against Hernandez. I think he's a tough matchup for him. Hernandez has been a beast on the ground, but Pereira is also a beast on the ground. So I love that one. And then 2 in the NFL, I got one side for you guys. It is the one that I said was one of my favorite sides. I'm so sorry, Jammer, but it is going to be the Jets, -1.5. I do think that they can get closer to 500 here at 3-4 after this week. I don't think it's the right move to Russell Wilson in this game. So I think the Jets win. And then, of course, that prop I was talking about is the prop I covered in NFL. It's my favorite one. Romeo Doubs, over 41.5 receiving yards. I think that one's going to rise by game time, especially if Watson or Reed are ruled out. That's obviously going to rise for that reason. But I think there's a good chance at least one of them doesn't play. And if they both happen to not play, Doubs is already looking like the wide receiver 1 for this weekend in that offense. And I think it was JD who is that over. He's expecting some points. I think there's going to be some points. So we're going to see a lot of passing, a lot of receiving yards. Love Doubs to go over 41.5 in that game. And then to close it out in baseball, the prop I just covered, Jose Ramirez over 1.5 bases, +130. I love that you're getting some good plus money on this one. He's got an extra base hit in back-to-back games now. He's kind of heating up after a cold start to the postseason. And he's in a pretty good pitching matchup here tonight against Heel, who struggled against lefty batters. So just to follow Ben twice. So you followed me back and then you unfollowed me, Nick. I see how it is. But, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Jets lose again this week. But those
Steelers fans, they don't forget, Ben.
They never forget. They never forget. I could be wrong. Maybe we'll see terrible towels out this week and they'll get it done. But I just don't see it. So, but I've been wrong before. But
I'll be at the game, so I'll be rooting for.
Oh, you will?
Hard. Oh yeah, going to the Sunday night game.
Love that. That'll be a fun game, especially on Sunday night. Should get a good prime time. Get to see Carrie Underwood on the TV. Closing us out. All right. Well, guys, that'll do it for us. Thank you for everyone who is in the comments. We really appreciate it. All you guys who come back to watch us every day. And that was this episode Across the Board. We should see Alpha back on Monday. We're expecting him back. So we want to, of course, get him back in the show. It should be a fun one. And hopefully we come back on Monday with good news that we won a lot of plays. So that'll be it for Across the Board on this weekend episode. I hope everyone has a good weekend. JD, say goodbye to the people.
Later, guys.
And I love saying this to someone else. Jammer, smile.